Moin und hallo zum Filmfest Bremen. Mein Name ist Susanne.
Und ich bin Yugen. Wir sind vom Indiefilmtalk Podcast und begrüßen heute Regisseurin Drew Mark, die uns den tollen Film Get Luke Lowe mitgebracht hat. Wir haben ihn gerade gesehen und deswegen gehen wir mit ihr direkt ins Gespräch. Hey Drew.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, fine. Um, we saw the movie and we liked it very much, and we would like to ask you some questions of it. What was your impulse and your starting point of the movie, or to develop the movie?
Yeah, I really wanted to make a film that was about the times, like our current social climate, especially in the UK after Brexit. There were a couple of incidents that happened to me personally where I had never experienced that in my whole life living in London, and it just showed how much things had changed. And when I spoke to some people about it, they didn't really understand that this sort of thing was happening. There was this idea that, oh, this is the UK and this is London and this sort of thing doesn't happen here, but it was. So I really wanted to capture that in a film, but I love film, and I love dark humor, so I really wanted it to be fun, or as fun as it can be, while at the same time dealing with quite a serious issue. But, you got to have a bit of fun with these things, so yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why this theme comedy? It's interesting that you choose that one to tell the story. Why didn't you do it much more serious?
Because at the end of the day, I want to make a film that I want to see, as well as making a film for everyone else. And if you're going to talk about something so serious, sometimes I think, especially because everyone's tired and, everyone has a job and they got families and just responsibilities. And sometimes if you want to turn on the TV and you want to discuss something that's serious and happening in the real world, it is a bit more of an incentive if it's a bit more fun, I think, as well. And I think that as long as you deal with it in a way that's kind of respectful and is honest about the topics that you're dealing with, I think that there is room to have a bit of fun with it without being disrespectful, So, yeah.
The three women are really radical. We can see that on their journey. But they also have their struggle, of course. What do you say, like radicalism, how important is it for the society to make a change?
Yeah, it's kind of a question that I struggle with a lot. It was a question that I kind of wanted to deal with in the film as well, and my struggle with that in the film, because you see that Luke is a really extreme personality, but at the same time, he's also, what he's done and the way that he behaves is kind of pushing the other side to be quite radical and extreme as well. And that can also be a problem. Not to say that, you shouldn't take action, not their action, but you shouldn't take action. But it was just exploring that sometimes one extreme can produce another extreme, and just kind of showing that sometimes things can go too far. And sometimes it's about a bit of balance. But it's weird. With change, sometimes you can do it in a peaceful way, in a way that, it's completely legal. But then sometimes, for some reason, like, governments and authorities, they seem to only pay attention when it is a bit more radical, which is a bit more unfortunate in my eyes. It's only if you see people, like, for instance, with Black Lives Matter, people were gathering a lot. But sometimes it makes me wonder, is like, if there wasn't, like, how can I explain it? That there was a lot of, like, rioting as well. And sometimes I think that drew even more attention to it. And maybe that pushed people, like the governments and people in positions of authority to do more. I don't necessarily agree with, like, doing anything that's illegal, but I can sometimes understand that kind of pushes progress sometimes when peaceful protests don't. So that sounds very radical. I know it does, but but it was. That's my view on it. I always prefer a kind of more balanced approach to progressing things along, but I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Did you had the discussion on set also with the actors, like with the actor of Luke and of course the women about this issue and about how radical can you be and what is society actually doing right now about feminism and everything else?
Yeah, I think this film for me, I don't know if I was actually looking at it from a feminist perspective. It was more a cultural and a social one perspective. That's the themes that I was trying to inject into it. It's and obviously I want to see more women on screen as well. So that was the reason why these characters were women as well. So that's one thing. In terms of having a conversation with the cast, they all have their own experiences, including, like Luke, the guy who played Luke, Barney, and Emma and May. They all have their own individual experiences. So to me, it was just when they auditioned, it was like, did they capture the characters? And, they're obviously fueling their performances with their own experiences. Did we have any like crazy discussions? Not really. I didn't know if there was really a need because they just seemed to really nail the characters. But there would be a couple of discussions we would have around character choices, like the use of certain language. The guy who played Luke, who is nothing like Luke at all and is the nicest person. Like, we would have to have conversations about what he would say in particular circumstances because certain language was actually quite uncomfortable for him to use. And it was just trying to understand and get into Luke's head and understand the reasoning as to why he would use language like that. So we had discussions like that, but there was no like crazy debate where I had to like do the gavel on the table, like everyone be quiet, no more discussion, like this has gone out of hand. There was none of that. It was no crazy discussion about the times. It was more about just making sure that we told the best story that we could and they did the best performances that they could. So yeah, and they were great. So yeah.
Was Eve from the beginning the radical one, or did it switch maybe? Because I mean, you can see that like Bonnie is more naive in some way, but open-minded too, and like don't want to be so radical as Eve is. Was it this constellation from beginning on, or did it switch in the process?
Yeah, I think they both represent a side of me. That was the whole idea. Sometimes when I get frustrated about some things that are happening, my inner Eve comes out, not as like extreme as her, but my inner Eve comes out. But then I sometimes call myself an armchair activist. I feel like I could do more, and like I have other concerns, and so that's like my inner Bonnie. I wouldn't say Bonnie's naive. Bonnie knows, like she's aware of some things. I think she's just more cautious about doing anything, whilst Eve is just like all bets are off. We're going for this, and Bonnie sometimes is a bit more the voice of reason. But at the same time, she's still hurt by what's happened to her friend, and she wants to do something about it. Like Eve, they just have very different approaches about how to achieve what they want. So yeah, that was the thinking behind them.
I mean, at the end you have an open end, right? We don't know what will happen with them. In the process of developing, was there another alternative endings, which you was thinking about, and why you chose this ending?
Of course, I thought of other endings. I actually wrote another ending, and then where I'm a bit scared because I was just like, I don't want everyone to know the ending. Spoiler alert. But where Luke just literally walks out. They let him go, and I was just like, fuck that. That's not me. And I also kind of the ending was important to me was because. Luke, whilst Eve kind of understands that she's pushed it too far. You know, she's got caught up in the moment, you know, and you've got the people out there who are like fueling her on, and she's like, yeah. I think with Luke, even though he felt remorse eventually about what he did, I think that he was still he still succumbed to like the pressure of his audience and not like admitting that he had done wrong. And so for me, that ending was reflecting that, you know, in a sense that Eve kind of had learned, Bonnie had kind of learned a bit as well. But Luke was just, as much as he felt remorse in the end about what he did, because he was faced with the consequences, he was still like, I still can't admit that I did wrong. Like, you know, the forces out there, his audience is still too powerful in the end. So, yeah.
If you could make the next film, doing the sequel, do you have a wish what kind of way Eve and Bonnie would continue? Would they run away? Do you have something in mind what you would like to tell for their next story, next journey?
I didn't think about that, but when you asked me that question just now, I thought the immediate answer that came into mind is that they would kind of switch perspectives. So, you know, Bonnie kind of becomes a bit more radical. And you know, they kind of both go underground, and Bonnie becomes a lot more radical, and Eve's the one that's cautious. I think that would be really interesting to see that dynamic play out between them, because they are so funny together. So, yeah.
And that would be the direct question: is next projects and what you are working and what we can see from you.
Yeah, I still continue to shoot like content during lockdown because I would go crazy if I didn't. So I shot a couple of black and white shorts last year, which were awesome. One of them was like about COVID, but a very different perspective, and I'll be releasing that quite soon, just on the internet for everyone to view. And the next couple of projects that I'm working on, one of them is a social thriller about a woman who slowly breaks down and, you know, takes matters into her own hands. And that one is very much a feminist project. And then the other one is a martial arts film as well. And it's kind of, it's similar to the one that I just described because they're both about becoming. But it just explores the dynamic of how we value male and female offspring. So it's just exploring that through a really beautiful family story, but with martial arts. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I'd love to see that right now.
Yeah,
Yes,
we are ready for.
Thank you.
Waiting for. No, thank you very much for your time. I think so, and that you told us a little bit about what your ideas was behind of that movie, and hope to see you soon live. I think so too, right?
Yes,
Me
with the next
too.
film.
Me too.
And
Or in Berlin.
yeah.
And Berlin, absolutely.
So thank you very much. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time, and you'll see us next time. I think so.
Fantastic. All right, guys, have fun, and I look forward to seeing all the other films as well. It's
Yeah.
going to be amazing. Yeah, for sure. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.